Hello, ladies and gents, boys and girls, people of all ages, sexualities, and identities, and welcome back to another Sarah Jane Adventures review. And today's final Sarah Jane Adventures review is none other than Death of the Doctor. Sarah Jane and the crew are invited to a funeral at Unit HQ. A funeral for the long-lost soul of the Doctor. There's a casket, but seems to be no body. They explain that apparently this is due to the fact that the Doctor's scars were so severe, so tragic, that they didn't want to hurt the hearts of the people who turned up to grieve over his death. But Sarah Jane and a Miss Jo Grant don't quite believe that the Shan Chief of the 15th Funeral Fleet are being as truthful as they seem. And they're not the only one, because Clyde Langer begins to suspect that even the Doctor's still alive. Why? Because Artron energy begins to play up on his hand. And the Doctor said that once that if the Artron energy is happening, then the TARDIS must be very close. Clyde begins to act very strange when it seems like parts of his body begins to shift, and soon Sarah and Jo realise it's because the new incarnation of the Doctor, played by Matt Smith, seems to be morphing in and out of existence, trying to get in contact with Jo and Sarah because the Shan Chief have been lying through their beaks. When the Doctor tries to interfere in the situation, he finds himself being flung back onto the planet that he was trapped on, and the group in the base end up running around like a bunch of flies to a flame, trying to figure out a way to stop the Shan Chief. One group, the kids, manage to get away. The other group, well, let's say that Sarah and Jo aren't so lucky. The Doctor manages to transport them temporarily, however, to the planet that he was on in hopes that he may be able to go back and save the kids. He used buccal oil from Jo's bag to reanimate this kind of doodah that he's got, and then he realises when he returns to the base that sadly the kids have gone into the boiler. Whilst he's distracted trying to get after San Diego, Rani and Clyde, he finds himself in a situation in which he begins to shift backwards. Clyde then asks him whether he's always white, and the Doctor points out that he can be anything he wants. They then chase down Jo and Sarah and realise that the Shan Chief are trying to use their minds to build a key to open the TARDIS doors. The Doctor then tries to bargain with the Shan Chief, saying that he will give them the key, it's right in his pocket, but they keep the door sealed instead. The Doctor then realises that the only way to stop the memory weave is to essentially overload it with memories, from Peladon to the mummies, to the Daleks, and many other adventures the Doctor had with Jo and Sarah over the years. Sarah also begins to fill the memory weave with memories that she's had with the kids, such as the Mona Lisa's revenge, the Slovene, the Trickster. Jo then begins to fill the memory weave with her own memories of all the countries in the world she's been to. Every single country she can name. They manage to overpower the memory weave, but then realise that they're trapped in the room with an exploding weave. If they're not careful, they'll become barbecue. The Doctor then remembers the fact that it's his funeral, and the only way for the girls to get out is to essentially jump in his coffin and wait for the room to explode. After the room explodes, the Doctor helps them both out of the coffin and says that it's funny that it was lead-lined. He then takes them back to Bannerman Road so that he can say goodbye once again. He also begins to discuss with them about his new companions, Rory and Amy. He also mentions the fact that they're married, and this kind of triggers Jo off for the right reasons at one point in the story. This is because of the fact that Jo essentially left him because she was married, and the Doctor never actually returned to her party. She begins to wonder whether the Doctor was ashamed of her. He then points out that he was never ashamed. He did go looking for her in the Ganges, but she was always climbing up trees or going down the river. It was very hard to pinpoint her down. He then also points out that he's been meaning to come back for Sarah many times as well, but he's been trying to let the pair of them get on with their lives. So, Death of the Doctor. What did I think of this story? It was absolutely incredible. I love that the voice of the Shan Chief is ironically played by David Bradley, who goes on to play the first Doctor in Twice Upon a Time. I also absolutely adore the fact that Katie Manning came back in this story, and I'm so glad that I got to meet her at a convention. I feel like her and Liz Sladen's chemistry in this story is absolutely incredible, and I really love the fact that they managed to get Matt Smith for this story. It's really nice and refreshing the fact that the show moved forward and didn't just bring back David Tennant, which would have been the easy option. I also feel like this is a reminiscence of the fact that over the years of Sarah Jane Adventures had continued, we could have had so many more Doctors cropping up here and there. But overall, this is a very solid story, and I love the premise of the Doctor being seen as dead and then popping up out of nowhere, bizarrely and whimsically, running around the corridor and going down kind of rubbish chutes. I also love the fact that we have a blue Grask called Grosk, I think. Please correct me in the comment sections. But I love that we get that kind of scene, and they start having a go at Clyde and the rest and calling them racist because they're trying to compare them to the Grask. I also love the fact that this story really solidified the idea of the Doctor in the future, that he could be so many different things, man, woman, and it's just absolutely incredible the way that it was written for this story. But overall, this story was absolutely incredible, and for that reason, I give it a solid 10 out of 10. Thank you for watching. We'll see you in the next Sarah Jane Adventures review. Until then, goodbye, stay beautiful, and have an incredible night, you beautiful people.